Hey, all you soon-to-be mamas and papas. Little babies can be scary. So many things you have no idea you need to know about until you're in the middle of it. So we compiled a list of the top 5 things you need to know about that sweet little bundle of joy. We've actually put together a free must-have and nice-to-haves list if you're interested for that postpartum period. So make sure to check out our show notes on how to get it.
We wanted to take this moment to tell you about our pregnancy posse. It's a supportive community of parents preparing for delivery and in those first few months postpartum. We have great live chats with Q&As so you can ask your questions on all kinds of topics our members need more support with. We also have some handy exercises and downloads on common issues that people and their partners struggle with during this time. We open up registration at the end of each month and would love for you to join us if you're interested. You get a 7-day free trial to see if it's right for you, and then you pay a low monthly fee for as long as you want to be part of it. Another great thing is you get access to all the video chats we've done in the previous months. Check it out on our website and make sure to sign up for our email bump blast every Wednesday to let you know what free content is coming out this week and what great deals we have for you. Now let's get to those top 5 things you need to know about your newborn right after this quick reminder. Welcome to the She Found Health podcast. We are Doctors Sarah and Alicia. We're maternity doctors who are passionate about caring for women and young families from conception through the first few challenging years of parenthood.
We have 5 kiddos between the two of us, so we get it. We've been there. And we made it through to the other side, and now we want to support you through your journey.
We are delving deep into topics to prepare you to have the healthiest pregnancy possible, the best birth you can, and to thrive rather than just survive during the newborn and postpartum phase.
We want to remind you that the information that we share is meant for general medical information only. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The information we share may not apply to every situation. If you have questions or if you've received different advice, please contact your healthcare provider. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Number 1. Babies are born blue. Babies have quite the journey from their cozy home in your uterus to life out in the big bad world. They go from getting everything they need through the umbilical cord to needing to breathe, eat, and manage all of their own needs on their own. Well, on their own, but lots of support from you, of course. This transition goes surprisingly well for most babies, but until they get those lungs working, they can still be a little bit blue. They should start to pink up within the first minute or 2 of life, but sometimes they need a little extra support from us to get things working properly. Most babies have it all sorted out by about 10 minutes of life, so don't be too worried if they need a little extra support to get everything working well when they first come out. We will get them back to you as soon as possible when they're stable to do so. Their skin-to-skin time with you is so important, and we know that.
Number 2. Your baby will lose weight and then regain it. So it's actually normal for your baby to lose up to 10% of their birth weight in the first few days of life. This is because they go from having a constant food supply when they're inside of you to feeding infrequently, every 2 to 3 hours instead of constantly on the outside. We generally expect them to gain this weight back, by the first 10 to 14 days of life, and they should be back at their birth weight by then.
Number 3. Your baby will be jaundiced, but you may not recognize it and it may not matter. So all babies get some element of jaundice. It just depends on how jaundiced they get as to whether we need to treat them. Jaundice is that yellow tinge to skin and eyes that some babies get. It's caused by the breakdown of red blood cells in babies as they're transitioning from their baby hemoglobin or red blood cells to their adult hemoglobin or red blood cells in those first couple of weeks of life. This product is then broken down in the baby's liver and transferred out of the baby through pees and poops. There are a number of reasons why this may not happen as efficiently as it could, which can then cause higher bilirubin levels in baby's blood and therefore more jaundice. And sometimes we need to treat this. Most babies are able to manage this process all by themselves, but there are some factors that can increase the risk of babies getting to a level of jaundice that we need to treat. And these are
gestational age. The younger a baby is when they're born, the less mature their liver is, and they have a harder time processing all the breakdown products. And so the bilirubin can rise in their blood, leading for a need to treat the baby.
Ethnicity. So babies of East Asian ethnicity, China, Korea, Japan, Taiwan, etc., are at a higher risk of jaundice requiring treatment. This is due to a lower level of the enzyme that helps to break down the bilirubin in the baby's blood. Their bilirubin levels in the blood are often higher, and they peak a little bit later, and they take a bit longer to get down to a normal level.
Blood type. If baby has a different blood type than mom, and mom has created any antibodies against this blood type, then the baby actually gets some of those immune cells from mom. What these immune cells then do is break down the baby's red blood cells more quickly. This occurs often in moms who have Rh negative blood type and give birth to a baby with an Rh positive blood type, or moms who have an O type blood and a baby who is A, B, or AB.
And the last is genetic causes. So there are certain genetic causes that can increase a baby's risk of getting jaundice, which causes a different shape of the red blood cells or differences in the enzyme that help break down bilirubin in baby's blood, causing them to not work as well. Now, these are pretty rare causes, and generally we aren't too concerned about them. But if we can't figure out why your baby's jaundice is so significant, we'll start to look into these causes. Or occasionally there's a familial genetic trait that we know about prior to going into it, and so we're just more cautious about things. In Victoria, we monitor jaundice levels very closely in hospital, and even if needed after discharge. Mild jaundice is generally treated by keeping your baby hydrated, as broken down bilirubin is excreted through the pee and poop. So the more they get in them, the more they'll pee and poop and get that bilirubin out of them. The other way that we treat jaundice is through ultraviolet light, which helps to break down those bilirubin products through the skin. This is done when bilirubin levels are too high to rely on hydration alone. This is done in hospital here in Victoria and looks like a little bit of a tanning booth for your baby. Or sometimes we can use a blanket that wraps around your baby if the jaundice levels are a little bit lower. Occasionally, we do need more intensive treatment if your baby's bilirubin levels are extremely high, but luckily, this is very rare.
Number 4, babies need to eat, but not too much right away. New parents are often concerned that their babies are not getting enough. We have to remember that newborn babies are just wee, and so are their bellies. Initially, moms produce colostrum, which is a nutritionally dense form of early breast milk. For the first couple of days, and this is generally all that the baby needs. Babies feed often during those first couple of days, only taking little bits of colostrum at a time, which helps give them a continuous stream of nutrition and allows their stomach to slowly expand while mom's milk is coming in. That frequent feeding and skin-to-skin time also helps to prime mom's breasts for milk production over the next weeks to months. The ways to tell if your baby's getting enough is by weighing the baby, which we do in the hospital and frequently at office visits over the first couple weeks of baby's life, and counting wet diapers. A general rule of thumb is that your baby should be peeing as many times in a day as it is old for those first 5 to 7 days. So day 1 of life, we want 1 wet diaper. Day 2 of life, 2, and so on. Up to the first 7 days. After that, there should be so many pees you don't need to count them.
And you know what, Sarah, we have a pretty extensive bit in our online prenatal course about infant feeding and really how to get things off to the right start. Yeah. So if you're looking for an online prenatal course and you want to make sure you get something that's really comprehensive, make sure to check ours out. And you can get it at the website at www.shefoundhealth.ca. Another thing we cover pretty extensively is newborn sleep. We actually have a whole course on newborn sleep, Newborn Sleep 101, but we've also got a great top 5 tips to help your newborn sleep better. And you can get that as a free download, and we'll link to it in the show notes. So if you haven't guessed it, number 5 is your baby will sleep soundly in those first few weeks, during the daytime anyways. So babies tend to sleep a lot in the first month of life. But they're a little bit mixed up about when they should be sleeping. So they're used to sleeping during the day when you're up and about and rocking them to sleep. And then they generally wake up when you lie down at night, in case you haven't noticed, and they rock and roll while you're trying to rest. This continues usually until about 6 to 8 weeks of age, when they start to figure out their days and nights a little bit more effectively. So it's really important to rest while you can and to make a good sleep plan with your partner around how you can both get a chunk of sleep most nights. So try to encourage sleep at night by not reaching for your baby every time they make a peep. Babies are naturally loud, noisy, active sleepers. And so they're going to make a lot of noise, and you don't need to react to them unless they're awake and crying for you. If that's the case, please go and get them. They're probably wet or hungry or both, and then need some support to get back to sleep. During the first few weeks, we really want you to be feeding your baby consistently. Like Dr. Sarah said, it's so important for the breastfeeding relationship and really getting your milk established. And those babies have tiny little stomachs, so they need to feed frequently. We want you to feed your baby at least every 3 hours from start of one feed to the start of the next during the day, and every 4 hours from the start of one feed to the start of the next during the night. Now, they may feed more frequently than this, and that's okay, totally normal. But until we know they're gaining weight well, we don't want them to go any longer than that. So make sure to download our top 5 tips for newborn sleep sheet, linked in the show notes below, if you're interested in learning a little bit more how to support your newborn in those first few months of sleeping.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We hope that was useful. The transition from being inside you to joining you in the outside world is a pretty complex one, and our wee babies go through a lot in those first few days to weeks. If you found this helpful, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review and subscribe to get notified when we release a new episode. Also, check us out at www.shefoundhealth.ca. Have a great day.